Jill and the crew are waiting to hear from you, so get those comments in.
Good evening, Crystal Palace supporters from across the globe. Welcome to another edition of the Red and Blue Review podcast with me, Ian Noble, hosting this evening. We have a special guest with us tonight alongside some familiar faces. We will look back on yesterday's return of the Monday Night Football as Palace once again had to settle for a share of the points, this time against Champions League chasing Nottingham Forest. It's good to see the home form improve, as that is now 5 unbeaten in the Premier League at Selhurst. Do please like and share our content across social media, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, especially if you're new to watching the podcast. Joining me this evening is the main man behind this podcast, Nick Philpott. Good evening, Nick. How are you, my friend?
Hey, buddy. I'm well, thank you, mate. And I'm not the main man. You're hosting this evening. This is your bag this evening. I'm really well, and thank you for being in the hot seat tonight, mate. I appreciate it.
No worries at all, but you are the main man. I won't have anyone argue with you about that one. And also from the Fan Advisory Board, Tim Richards. Hello, Tim. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, thanks, sir. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you.
Good. Good to have you with us, Tim. And plus the biggest fan, probably, of our special guest, one of my away day buddies, Yasmin Broom. Hello, Yas.
Hi, Ian. Thanks for that. Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Good. And finally, someone who needs no introduction, although he's going to get one anyway, former Palace player, John Salako. John, before we say hello to you, I just want to read this little paragraph out I've got written in front of me. John played 215 times for Palace, scoring 22 goals, Nick, between 1987 and 1995. And there's a thing or two about representing us in an FA Cup final, being part of the 1990 side that lost following a replay to Man United. Was also involved with Alan Podge's coaching team when we went down to the same opposition just 9 years ago in 2016. Good evening, John. How are you?
Good evening. I'm great, thank you.
Good. There's nothing like a good introduction, and that was nothing like a good introduction.
It was over 280 games, to be honest, in total. So
I thought it was 215 games.
You're not telling me his information is wrong, are you, John?
Games. No, it's fine. It's cool.
That's fine. Well, we won't argue about that just tonight. And I do remember, I don't know if you remember this conversation, John, the first time I spoke to you on the phone, a long time ago now, when we worked together all those years ago, I said, oh, you played for England 4 times then? And you said 5.
You know, it's really weird because people often say to me, how many England caps did you get? And I say, oh, I only got 5. And they say, I only got 5? you know, most people would wish to just get 1, but I think the answer is, how many times have you played for England then? If I say that, yeah, very precious. But yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, I think I think we were talking about that, and sometimes on match days we talk about the 280, and it sounds quite good, that 280, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was great days. So.
Well, maybe I got that. Maybe it was league games or something. I got it off Wikipedia quickly this afternoon, so if I got that wrong, I apologise.
No worries.
Can you remember what Graham Taylor said about you in 1991 on the Australasia tour?
Depends whether that was internally or externally.
No, it was on telly. It was on TV. He said, Graham Taylor said, and I quote, he said, John Salako's tickled everyone's fancy. Do you remember that?
God, that does take me back. Yeah. No.
Anyway, we're going to move on. Go on.
No, it was amazing because I came off that tour, you know, sort of very, very popular. So I think I was the next £5 million player, which shows how long ago it was. But I was. It was a very good tour, and really enjoyed that.
Very good. Well done. Okay. So anyway, we need to move on with this podcast. There's absolutely no shortage of stuff to talk about on tonight's show. Nick, you're going to keep an eye on the chat for us, so please do comment and put any questions in there you have for John in the chat tonight, and we'll try and involve as many of you as possible. Tim is going to lead on the Forest game in a moment or two. But John, before we get into talking about the Forest game, Palace v Forest does prompt memories of probably one of your greatest goals in a red and blue shirt. Do you remember the goal I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's the goal. You know, I mean, that's my favourite Palace goal, to be honest. In the third round of the FA Cup and at the Forest ground, Brian Clough made Roy Keane's book, actually.
Did he?
Yeah, Brian Clough ended up punching Roy Keane in the mouth for letting me and chip Roy Crossley from 45, 46 yards, but who's counting? Beckham-esque
It was Beckham.
yeah, it was remarkable, and it was arguably. I love that goal. I think it's just the romance of the FA Cup. We were going out. It was late on, and Crossley comes out, miskicks it. It falls to me. I sort of cut inside Roy Keane and lob it in the net, and it's that was absolutely magical. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, because that was the third round of following the season of losing in the final, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, nuts. I've just had this fairy tale and this love affair with the FA Cup with Palace, and as I say, 1990 was just so special. It was ridiculously special. And then obviously 95 with Gareth Southgate's side, Chris Coleman, Chris Armstrong. We semi-finals where we went to the replay again. That was the year Eric Cantona did his famous kung fu kick. Which people forget. I was actually man of the match that night.
Were you really?
Which I love taking pride in telling people. But and then 16, I came back as coach, and 2016 we got back to the final, Man United, and then 22. Just a match, I'm a match day ambassador and working back at the club. We got back to the final where it was a season where we lost to Chelsea, where Conor Gallagher couldn't play. And then
in the semi-final, wasn't it?
We're back in the final. So I just love this cup competition and love Palace. So it's wonderful. And just got to tell you, we've got Super Ollie Glasner. And he knows
we have.
I think our name's on it. So look,
well, we hope so, John. We hope so. Listen, we're really glad that you joined us tonight. Some great stories already. We're going to hear lots more from you throughout the evening. So stay with us. If you're watching this, you're a Palace supporter, because most people watching this are Palace supporters, and you know other Palace supporters that don't normally watch, send them a message and get them watching. So we'd love to have as many as possible watching tonight. So we're going to come on and talk about the cup final a little bit later on. But first of all, we're going to come to the game. Nigel, do we have the team up from the last night's match? There we go. So Adam Wharton is the poster boy there in the lineup. It's unchanged from the semi-final lineup. Was one change on the bench. Remy Matthews had to be ready from the bench as Matt Turner was ineligible to feature against his parent club. Before we come to you, Tim, guys, what did we make generally of Nottingham Forest? We usually talk about stats at the end, but there's one that's worth mentioning up front, and that's the stat of 8-3. If you were a Forest player last night, you weren't booked, you were in the minority. So what do we think about Forest? Yasmin, let me come to you first. What was your take on Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, I thought they were pretty dirty, but people around me were saying it was like their desperation because they really wanted to win it because they had to, and that really came across. And I think it was only that the referee, as we know, he's a pretty poor referee, that they didn't get someone sent off. Sure.
Yeah. Nick, do you share that view?
Yeah, I think it's probably hit on the head, really. Their agenda was different to ours. Before we go on to what I was going to say, I also want to make a point about Ollie Glasner. What I love about the guy gets it, and he wants to put out the strongest team available every game. He did it last week. He's done it again for this for last night. And I know you're doing. Somebody said in the chat already. They said, "Oh, do you think you'll make changes for the weekend?" No, for Spurs. No, I don't. I really don't, because that's not his style. He's proven that he wants to put out the strongest team. As for Forest, they were, that was coached into them last night. They said that they don't like it up them. Palace don't like it up them. Get into them. And the result was 8-3, as you quite rightly said.
John, you've played against teams that are dirtier than others in the past. What were your thoughts about Nottingham Forest last night?
Ian, there's old school dirty. Wimbledon, Millwall. You're talking about proper teams, Leeds. It was one of those games where I think Munoz made 8 tackles in the first 6 minutes. It was just incredible. His energy, and he got wired in. He set the tempo, as Nick just said. Oliver Glasner, Arsenal away on the Wednesday, FA Cup semi-final on Saturday, strong team. You play the same team as in the final. You deserve your places. Go and fight for your places. He set us up again. They had no Hudson-Odoi. We just nullified them. They just got frustrated. And certainly Sarr was exceptional. He just drove. We were so positive. We started the game brilliantly. We just lacked that. The ball sort of pinballed around a little bit. it just didn't fall for us in that first 15, 20 minutes. And then it petered out a little bit. And obviously on 35 minutes, it was Mitchell going up the left, putting that wonderful cross. Munoz should have finished. So it was frustrating. Didn't really go into Mateta. It was very much a nutritional game. Say Forest were desperate for a win. They're running out of steam, running out of ideas a little bit, that, you know, and they're getting found out, unfortunately, at the back end of the season. But what a phenomenal season they've had and what they've done. I think their 19-goal talisman didn't even have a touch. Can't remember Hendo making just that one at the end. I think right at the end, I think it flashes.
Yeah, Lacroix deflected it wide, didn't he, from the wood chance late on. We're going to come to a lot of those talking points during the game. Tim is on mute at the moment. He's going to unmute himself in a sec and talk us through this game then, the key talking points in the first half, Tim.
Yeah, it's I was a bit unsure what kind of team he put out for last night's game with the final coming up, but I think it's already been said. I mean, I think that's what helped us in the semi-final was he put a strong team out against Arsenal. They played well, and confidence comes from it. And I'm sure John probably echoed that half of football is confidence. And when you've got a team playing well, keep letting them play. So the game started, and it was really pleasing that we seemed to be right at it, right from the word go. As has been said, Munoz straight away set the tone, and the whole team were pressing up as a team rather than individuals. And Forest, I mean, they've had a great season. Can't argue with that. But you look at, they're pushing for Champions League, and we were the better side. So that tells you how far we've come on. But we had a good start. There was a long throw from was it Richards? A long throw. Lacroix found the ball at his foot, had a shot from the, I think, corner of the 6-yard area, just couldn't quite get his foot. But again, it set us up going forward. We had another great break following a Forest corner not too long after that. And again, the first of many cynical challenges on Sarr. I can't remember the Forest player's name. Not overly filthy, not dirty, but, you know, he had to put him down. I'm surprised he wasn't booked, but we could talk about that later on. And then we kept pushing.
Before you get to that, the first challenge on Sarr was Dominguez, and it's worth mentioning this one because this was only on 6 minutes. Yeah. And John has already mentioned Sarr was a thorn in Forest's side all evening. Every time he got the ball and ran forward, they fouled him. The first one was a booking. The second one, I think the one you were just referring to there, wasn't. But the only way they could stop Sarr last night was to foul him. And the Dominguez one is important because when we come to the second half, he was the one that brought Mitchell down in the box, and that was potentially a second yellow card. But we'll come to that later. But others, Sarr, do you agree with John? You know, he was the player that was causing them the most problems. Nick Philbott?
Absolutely. I mean, how he's developed through this season is his strength. I don't think when we first bought him, they tried to make it out to be an Elise replacement. He was never going to replace Michael, and we know that. But what we got in replacement of it was somebody with much more strength and drive than Michael Elise ever had. He might not be as technically gifted as Michael was, but he's a strong bloke. He's a strong player.
Okay, and so you know the Forest, they started accumulating a few bookings. The one that you referred to, Tim, wasn't a booking, but they were starting to foul our players more often than not. Yes.
Yeah, but it wasn't until the second half that he started pulling his yellow card out. But what was pleasing, I thought, was I think Kamada has finally started showing glimpses of what obviously Glasner saw in him right from the word go. And there were quite a few times where he linked up really nicely with Mitchell and Munoz. Some quite good, clever play, quick play, and it was really good to see. The one thing I would say is I did think quite a few times we got in great crossing positions with Munoz last night, and the crossing wasn't quite up to standard. You know, it didn't quite reach the player, didn't beat the first player. So that was a bit disappointing, but they kept going. And that led to, I think it was great play. Crosser came to Kamada, whose shot was deflected and led to the corner. And again, Wharton, a great corner. I mean, look at us last season. We were terrible before Glasner came in, but now look at us. great corner, great flick on from Lacroix. And unfortunately, Richards just couldn't quite get his feet sorted out. You could see he was trying, he just couldn't, and a bit of a melee, and they cleared the ball. Which again, it was a good game. It led on to a Forest break. They broke down the right, I think it was, and Tyrick Mitchell and Dino got into each other's way a bit. I think from the apology from Dino, I think it's probably his fault. But again, he got us out of it. He managed to get a foot and he blocked the ball. So that was basically Forest's only real effort, I think. I mean, they were very poor, I thought, going forward. And then we had some more good passages, again, involving Kamada. Really pleasing to see. Great link-up play with Munoz. And then with Tyrick Mitchell, who put a gorgeous ball across. And at the back post, you had Munoz coming in. Great connection. It was a real good connection. It was unfortunately right at the Forest keeper. If it had been 6 inches either side, great finish, 1-0 up. But it wasn't. It's one of those nights, I think. And then we kept plugging. And again, another cynical foul from a Forest player. I didn't note who it was. But again, didn't get a yellow, which probably not overly filthy, but a cynical foul that should have had a yellow.
Okay.
And then it came, I think I've got a note here, then it came to the penalty that wasn't a penalty. I think the way I describe it will sum up what I think of it. It was a great great ball across from the Forest player. Chris Woods seemed to be more concerned about trying to get a penalty rather than trying to head the ball. Big guy like that, if he'd shown some strength, he could have got his head to the ball and probably scored. But he didn't. He went over. Yes, you could say there was contact, but I think if you're going to give a penalty for that, you're going to give a penalty for everything in the box. I don't know what the rest of you guys think about that.
Well, let's bring others in then. John, the Wood incident in the first half when he went over and he was appealing like this. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, as Tim just said, it was one of those that looked a little bit soft to me, as you say. But as a home fan, you would say no penalty. He was trying to buy it. If you're a Forest fan, then you think it was that. But I thought that Andy Madley got that absolutely spot on. Yeah,
good. And Yaz, you would agree with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a penalty. So yeah, he got something right at least.
Nick, you quite rightly have reminded me about the chat this evening. I haven't forgotten about it. There was one question in there I saw going through, and Tim has touched on this already. So let's pick up on it. Diachi Kamada's had his critics at Crystal Palace in the early days. I've been a supporter of his, and I've always said there's a player in there on this podcast previously. John, the question, forgive me, I couldn't see who it was.
It was Mark Callaghan.
Mark Callaghan asked the question. John, what's your opinion of Kamada?
Do you know what? I mean, he's come in as a free transfer. I think he's the highest paid player in the squad, which put a target on his back straight away. But obviously Oliver Glasner worked with him at Frankfurt. He's worked with him before. He's captain of Japan, and he's obviously a quality player. He just struggled to settle in. The Premier League is fierce. It's physical. It's fast. It's pacey. It's powerful, and it's probably a lot of things that Kamada isn't. And he's struggled to settle in, and he needs to get in that gym, and he needs to get up to pace. And he seems to be finding his way because he's very intelligent. He's one of those players, a bit like França, playing in Brazilian football. It's all comfortable. It's all to feet. You get it all your own way. But in the Premier League, it is a proper helter-skelter ride, and you are tested fully. And, it's a very physical game. So, technically he's showing incredible resilience, mental resilience, but he's a good player, and he's beginning to shine. And look, when I got to that semi-final and I was stood pitch side and that team was announced, I thought it's either going to be Hughes and Wharton or Lerma and Wharton.
Yeah.
When it was Kamada and Wharton, I was like, okay, right. Oliver, what are you thinking? But look, he did a great job. He's a very intelligent player, and he's beginning to show his worth. And, he was absolutely fantastic in there with Wharton, and they were magnificent. Eze and Sarr tucked in brilliantly. Tactically, we got that spot on, and we got it absolutely right. He stuck with that team for Forest. as Tim and Nick kind of, rightfully said, he doesn't change things and he sticks with those teams. And I think he, like when Chilwell came in and has actually done well, but he stuck with Mitchell. And at times, you thought, actually, why don't you give him a chance? But he's very loyal, and that's a trait of his. He's very calm. He's very collected. He's very intelligent, the Glasner, and everyone knows their positions, and he talks to them, and his man management is absolutely exceptional. And what he's done with Kamada has been nothing but absolutely brilliant, because we haven't seen it. And what he's seen in Kamada, we haven't seen, but he's beginning to produce it. And he ran out of steam the other night or last night, and he took him off, and I'm sure he'll give him another go.
Indeed. Thanks, John. You mentioned Chilwell there. A lot of people were asking for Chilwell to start ahead of Mitchell. I think, what Chilwell has done is brought Mitchell up to think, I've got to be on the top of my game, otherwise I'm not going to get selected. He hasn't been super brilliant in like 4 or 5 games ago, say. And word has it that Chilwell was going to play at Arsenal when there were some changes made, when the games came thick and fast, but Chilwell was sick, so he couldn't play. And then he was back in the squad for the semi-final. I think it's the right call. What will happen to Chilwell at the end of this season? He'll probably just go back to Chelsea. He's got to find another club. He's got to play some football regularly, obviously. And he's still a decent player, I think. But if someone came in and offered us 50 million for Mitchell, yes, do you think we'd take it? And then we could buy Chilwell for 10 or something? Would that work for you?
It wouldn't work for me. I'm a big fan of PM, so no. No, thank you.
The trouble is with you, Yasmin, you're so loyal to the players we've got. I mean, it's ridiculous. She's ridiculously loyal to everybody. Nick, what about you, mate? What are your thoughts on that hypothesis?
I have to say, you've got 50 million for Tariq. I think it'll be a brilliant piece of business. Bear in mind, he costs us absolutely nothing. Brilliant for PSR and everything else. I want to go back to the chat here very briefly. There's so many people in the chat. John, I don't know if you can see the screen, and you can see there's some of the comments that are going through about you. Some lovely words going on. I won't say good evening to you all, but I know who you are out there. I've got the whole list sitting in front of me. Some good questions coming on. I know we're going to be touching on goalkeepers later on. You're not too shabby a goalkeeper yourself, Mr. Salako, were you?
Well, it's just a quick story. I had 2 older brothers, so they used to make me go in goal when I was a kid and when I was young. And obviously, when I was at training, sometimes I would go and goal and mess around, and Brighty and Brighty and all the boys, just messing around. And Stevie Coppell just came up to me one day and said, I think it was only 3 subs, so it was awkward to have a goalkeeper on the bench, especially with reliable Nigel Martin. So he said, look, if anything ever happens to Nigel, would you go in goal? And I said, of course, Gaffer, yeah, I'll go in goal. Hoping that, never imagining it would happen. And then, of course, that infamous game at against Wimbledon at Selhurst Park, 3-2, 3 sending offs. Nigel gets sent off and I have to go in goal. And it's arguably the most daunting thing I've ever done in football. So that was pretty scary, but it was great. It was great. But that's nuts. That really was a crazy moment.
And the other comment that came through, and just to finish off, if you don't mind, people are saying, John, we are blessed to have you on the show, mate. We really are. Thank you so much for your time, Zim, and how well you're speaking about the game. You clearly have a love for Palace, a love for the game, and your knowledge is unlimited. So thank you for joining us, mate.
Oh, no. Do you know what? Going to the quarterfinal against Fulham, I went down on the King's Road and with the fans, we had a bit of breakfast, 9:30, and then walked across. And then obviously the final, again, we went into Victoria and then went across. And the love and the affection and just being amongst the fans was just so special, so incredible. And I always say to the fans, we spent some special times together, and it is amazing. And that you get that love, and we can all sort of reminisce about that and talk about that. And obviously it's beautiful sharing these wonderful times that we're experiencing with this team, and it's incredible. So love you all the fans. It's wonderful.
And John, you are a fan now. We know you are because we see you at games and you're passionate in videos that you put out on social media from pitch side. before games. And I think Fulham away, you're in the posh seats when you're up the other end. Is that right?
I was in a box behind the goal. Yeah, the opposite end to the Palace fans. But the funniest thing was there was we had a box of say 12, and I think there was 4 or 5 of us that were Palace, and every time we scored, I had to run inside, close the door, and then celebrate.
Yes.
and then come back out. What happened? Wow, is everything okay? No, it was
Brilliant. Good stuff. Good. Right. Okay. We need to press on with the second half of this game, Tim. We go in at 0-0 at half time, and second, probably more about it the second half than the first, don't you think?
I don't know. I thought both sides went for it second half. I thought Forest started the second half better than we did for the first few minutes. Again, Lacroix did well in defence, but then I think we were broken. Sarr had a header. I mean, it was a great cross, great header, but he just couldn't quite keep it down. If he had have scored from there, I think it would have been header of the season. But again, it was a good move. Then I think we had what was probably the best move of the game for us. Wharton picked the ball up, managed to get the ball away at the halfway line, and as he does, he's really good at a quick first-time ball. He doesn't hang around. He looks to play straight ahead, straight away. A great ball through to Eze, who fed another lovely ball through to JP, and again really quick ball across to Sarr, straight through on the goal. Great effort, but a great save from the Forest keeper. It summed the night up, I think, where keepers just managed to keep it on, keep it level. But then again, Forest broke. They showed the quality they've got on the break, which is how they've been playing all season. But again, Lacroix, great player, great defending. All right, you could say it was a bit lucky, but he got in the way and he just managed to get enough of a deflection. Wood's shot went wide. Then came the penalty. Glorious ball across to Tyrone Mitchell from, I think it was Sarr, but I'm not 100%.
It was Sarr.
Yeah, and then Mitchell, great ball, a great run. I mean, we've often said that he wished he did it more often, but a great cross, great run, and he was fouled by 2 players, the defender and the keeper. I think either could have given. The ref, how the ref didn't see it is right there, I don't know. But VAR did. It took a long time.
Let's just pause. Let's pause there for a moment and talk about that, Tim, if we can. How didn't Andy Madley give that on the field as a penalty? Yasmin.
Yeah.
Let me come to Yas first. How is that not a penalty on the field? Why is he not giving it?
I couldn't believe it, because where we sit on, just really near where it happened, it was obvious it was a penalty. And then you could see it up on the screen behind us. It was even more obvious it was a penalty, and he was right there. So I don't know what he was thinking, unless he bottled it, needed the VAR to tell him, oh no, go and have a look. I don't know.
Nick, do you think referees abdicate now in the Premier League?
There is a certain aspect of that, but if you watch, I watched it back this afternoon, okay, and there was a discussion between the ref and I think it was Wharton, okay, and he's saying, why have you not given that? And he was trying to explain to Wharton that there was a player between him and Mitchell, okay, so he didn't actually see it clearly. If that was the case, then maybe he could be forgiven. But I make you right, Ian. I reckon there's a certain, passing the buck scenario going on here. Because that was Tim's also right. There was actually 2 challenges there. They were both penalties.
This was what I was alluding to earlier. The Dominguez, he was booked in the 6th minute. He's challenged Mitchell in the box there. He's brought him down. John, is that a second yellow card?
Well, I mean, it's difficult, in the letter of the law, it is. But when it happens so quickly, I can see, and that is actually a good point. Sometimes the referee is just caught out of position and can't see, and it's a blind spot. But when they look at it at VAR, they're just looking at the penalty, and obviously the defender tackles him, and obviously Sells makes the tackle as well. So that's the one thing I was amazed at last night, was the fact that they kept getting booked, and I kept hoping it was a second yellow card. But it was someone different. I was like, how is that happening? And we'll take whatever. But I don't like to sort of obsess and go over sort of yellow cards and those opportunities. I think you get the rub of the green and you get what you deserve overall. So it's just a shame we couldn't produce that bit of magic to win it ourselves as they hit in the bar.
Yeah, we'll come to that. We'll come to that one.
Right.
Say again, sorry.
I said it was a game that just never felt it was going to go our way. We were just thinking it just never fell for us, but we were completely dominant. It was amazing, say, against a side going for Champions League position. Again, we were incredibly dominant and so positive. And it really was a dominant 1-1.
Okay. Let's talk about the penalty then. So is eventually given the penalty. And this is where VAR, I suppose, does come into its own. We moan about it. We say as fans we don't like it. But without VAR last night, he's not given the penalty. We've not got that opportunity to score. But he does give it in the end. And who's going to take the penalty? We were talking in the pub beforehand. If we get a pen tonight, who's going to take it? Because Mateta's missed.
We were all singing boom, 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 weren't we?
Yeah. Well, you were on Mateta, were you? Your club
Yeah.
Mateta.
I know Eze's penalty at Newcastle was shocking, but I could see what he's trying to do. And when you don't get it right in the execution, you do look a complete muck.
Yeah.
And Eze struggled with that. And I absolutely love his confidence, his positivity, and taking charge of that situation. And, when we got that penalty at Wembley, I thought Mateta was going to score. Put your foot through it, but just be confident. And to miss the target was really quite a shock. But for Eze to come and do that, so many leaders in that side now. There's so many players that are confident. Obviously, the Qua's the man, but Eze is standing up 6 goals in 10 games, but he's beginning to just have that little bit of arrogance and that confidence. And that he just showed what he was trying to do and
that's the word, John, arrogance. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And that's what we need. And the money end of the season, our big world-class players finally coming to the table, which is incredible.
Very important. So Eze has the ball. He's going to take the spot kick. It was delayed a bit before he's taken. Forest tried all the tricks in the book, didn't they? Yes, to put us off.
They were trying to put him off. I mean, I must admit, I bottled it a bit. I wanted Sarr to take the penalty because the other two had missed. And I was like, someone else, please.
Okay.
Is that because he's in your fantasy team?
No, he's not in it anymore. So it wasn't that. No, I was have Munoz taking it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But no, I think what I found funny and also a bit unnerving was when we all thought that Eze was going to bury it this time, just blast it in. And then when he did that run up, like the whole of the Palace fans went, oh, like that. You could just hear the sigh, and then he scored. So
I could barely watch it, to be fair. I did watch it, but I wasn't happy with the run up.
No, that was all.
The bottom line is he had the confidence to do what he did. Grant Saunders has an excellent video of the penalty on his Where the Eagles Have Landed Facebook page. If you haven't seen that video, go and find it on Facebook and have a look at it, because it's a really good video of the whole few minutes or a minute or so from waiting to take the spot kick to the execution. So we're 1-0 up, Tim, and it's looking pretty good. But it didn't last long, did it?
No, it didn't. It didn't. Forest did what they do. They were looking a bit desperate now. They needed the win. They started pushing it forward, and they pushed us back a bit. Munoz, unfortunate. He was unlucky. He just clipped the defender, which led to a free kick. It was a great free kick. Not well tipped over by Dean. Can't argue with that.
One, yeah.
But then from the corner, the ball found its way to the edge of the box. The player shot. It was well covered, but the Forest player, he got a toe to it. Completely wrong-footed. Henderson in goal, and it goes to 1-1. Did they deserve it? I don't really think so, but that's the Premier League for you, and that's you don't win, you don't have a go if you don't shoot. So 1-1. But what was pleasing, and this is like a question I want to ask John afterwards, but what was pleasing is we didn't stop. We kept going. All right, so they pegged us back. But for the rest of the game, I won't use up too much time. For the rest of the game, it was us really that was pushing for a win. We hit the crossbar. We had other great chances. We had made some substitutions. Nketiah was unlucky. He did score, but he was offside. He was offside. I don't think there's any debate. But going forward, especially for the next couple of games, especially the final, it was so pleasing to see the way that we were playing. We kept going. And John, I was going to ask you, you played in some amazing teams with some real teams that were real good team spirit. Do you think, when you look at the way this team's playing at the moment, do you see the same kind of team spirit and same kind of closeness that were in the teams when you were playing for us?
Yeah, well, actually, one of the things was, we've got such nice players, haven't we? They really are. And, someone was saying to me last night, there's so many players in that side of players that have got a faith and just really good lads. They're just really nice guys. And there doesn't seem to be, Lacroix's the one with the probably a little bit of aggression, and he's the real voice. But as I said, there's leaders in that side and they all want to win. And they just pulled together, and I think Oliver Glasner has given them a base and a platform. They all know exactly how to play, and I think when we're positive and we play forward, and they all believe in each other, I think I would like to see Mitchell's first touch to be positive and to go forward. I'd like to see Kamada go forward. Apart from that, the rest of the team are absolutely incredible. Richards has just been a revelation. Chalabar leaving, I thought, actually, I have question marks over him. Richards has been sensational. Gay is just a Rolls Royce, and Lacroix, I think, is sensational. And going back to the penalty, one thing I'd love to say, look, Hughes' delivery of free kicks has been sensational. I liked when we mixed it up. I think it was Arsenal when we mixed it up and changed it up for Eze's goal off the corner. And we need to do something a little bit more inventive and a little bit more different. But Wharton's got to be more involved with free kicks, corners, and why not take a penalty? He needs to now score goals and step into that leadership role and be a little bit more of assertive player, but not just accept I am doing this wonderful job and he is what he is. And look, we're going to next season, and if we do, once we beat City and go into Europe, he needs to take on that mantle to go and get that England spot.
Yeah, you're quite right, John. Nick?
Very quickly, John, picking up on your point on Wharton and penalties. I think Mark mentioned it in the chat just a minute ago. I don't know if you're betting people. I guarantee you now. Here we go. You heard it on the Red and Blue review first. Put your money on Adam Wharton scoring at Wembley.
Okay.
Adam Wharton will score his first goal for Crystal Palace Football Club in the cup final. I guarantee it.
I would love to see Adam Wharton every now and then just break out of midfield, step into that. He's got that in his locker. And, look, he's an intelligent player and he's an unselfish player. And he does an incredible job for us sitting in there and playmaking and breaking things up and passing and just being a real solid player. But I'd love to see him step in and score and just be that more of a complete player, because he's just sensational.
And I think you'll see it with him. I think once he gets that first goal, and he gets that off his back, I think you'll see his confidence grow, and he'll take on opportunities, maybe more so than he is at the moment. Last night he did get a knock, of course, and he wanted to carry on. And when we were 1-0 up, I think Oliver Glasner replaced him with Hughes, and not a bad player to bring off the bench, is he, Will Hughes, at the moment? But he is apparently okay, Wharton. I've seen it on socials today. I don't know where you picked up on that in the lounges afterwards, John, that Adam Wharton is okay. And it was just something and nothing, really, a minor knock and more of a precaution as to why he was replaced last night. Tim, how much more have you got of the game, mate? Because
that's about it
left on this pod.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, is it? Okay, fine. Yeah, so Eze hits the bar. Eze has a shot and Nketiah deflects it in and it's offside. They put 8 minutes of added time up. Forrest probably thought, oh, my goodness, 8 minutes, how are we going to cope with that? So the number 31, whatever his name is, Milinkovic, he made the best of making it sort of 15 minutes of added time instead of 8 minutes by being down on the deck for 5 of those when there was nothing wrong with him properly. And that was really annoying. Right at the death, Munoz had a cross across the penalty area, which Sells saved. And then Hughes shot just over right at the very death, on about 110 minutes when it was a really close effort. So, look, let's get the match stats up, Nigel, if we can, just to conclude that. Very even on possession. You can see we had more shots than they did and corners, in fact, and more free kicks. That's because they fouled us more than we fouled them. And you're right, John. I couldn't believe that not one of those players got a second yellow card. I think what they did, they quite tactically, they took them off once they got a yellow, and they replaced them quite clearly. I missed a bit at the end because I had to rush away at the end. But right at the end, I think a couple of players were booked. Was it after the final whistle? Is that right? Anyone?
I'm not sure. I think I'd gone down as well.
Yeah. Okay.
But do you know what? I kept leaning over and I was saying that must be 6, 7, 8 players booked. And you were sort of looking at it thinking, how are not the same players, sort of committed a double foul and getting sent off? So, but, it was such a brilliant last 20 minutes. We were powering on. And again, I look at the fitness of the side, the strength of the side. We look really strong. I know Mateta looked a little bit tired and again, Wharton, as soon as he picked up that knock, I'm thinking, just go off. Just get Hughes or Lil. Just go off. And he's such a soldier. And I think we're all screaming at him, just stop messing around. Get off. Go and have ice your foot. He's saying not, but just get off. But he wants to play. And Lerma's chomping at the bit to play. And we need to keep these players involved. We need to keep them 20, 30 minutes so that they're fit, strong. And, come, Tottenham on Sunday and then going into the game, you need them to have some minutes under their belt. And it's not just about changing the side for the sake of changing it and keeping momentum. It's about giving these lads who deserve a chance. Because if I was Lerma and Husey, I wouldn't be happy. And that's Oliver Glasner's great, managerial talent, is to keep those players happy because they're all ready when they come on. But you give them half an hour so they get sweat on and they keep a freshness to what they're doing, because we're going to need them come the 17th.
Yeah, because you don't know, do you? When you get to Wembley against Man City, it could go to extra time. You've got more than the same.
Got to be strong. Sapping, massive.
And we talked about this last week. We said, would Eze or Mateta take a penalty at Wembley if we needed them to in a shootout? The reality is they might not be on the pitch after 120 plus minutes. So you're going to need the likes of Lerma and Hughes to step up and take those penalties. But Glasner's always been one to use his bench. I mean, he sees it as a 16-player game. Often, I mean, I think we didn't use our full complement last night, but he does use 5 subs a lot of the time, which is really good. Nick, just bring you in, and then we need to crack on.
Okay, very quickly, John. A message for you in the chat, or a question for you in the chat from the one of the NHS's finest, Teresa Baker. Thank you for everything you do in our NHS team. She's asking you a question, John. Have you ever experienced Palace at Covent Garden? And are you likely to do so for the final? Come down, man. It'll be the best thing you've ever experienced.
Oh, I'd just send all my love out to all our beautiful NHS staff. And they're so wonderful. And oh, my God, I think I was invited down there, actually. And I didn't quite make it down to Covent Garden for the semis. But I think for the final, I might have to get down there for being a little sing-song with the beloved Palace fans. It's just so special. It's going to be the best day.
Yeah, as you can see from that picture.
We'll meet up with you, mate. Look after you. Don't worry. That's fine.
Absolutely right.
That's good. We're talking about minutes for players, of course, and other people have said more than one comment in the chat I've seen go through tonight. What about Romain Esse, and what about França? Now, both of those players would love to play minutes, wouldn't they? Both of them are probably capable enough. We saw França come off the bench at Southampton and score that great goal. So, we have got strength in depth now. And if you look at that bench, Devene even, what a great footballer he is. There's so much depth compared to what we've been used to at Palace. But look, if we do qualify, win the FA Cup and qualify for Europe, we're going to need every single one of those players when it's Thursday, Sunday on a regular basis. Nice problem to have, of course. And Oliver Glasner's well used to that competition going forward. Guys, I'm going to move on because we, in the interest of time, on this show, we always talk about other teams at the football club. The under-21s are doing really well. On Friday, the 2nd of May, they played in their League Two Division 1 playoff quarter-final. They didn't just beat Chelsea, they thrashed them 6-0. And they will progress now to a semi-final in the last 4 of the competition to play either Southampton or Fulham. The under-18s on Saturday, the 3rd of May, they drew 3-3 at the Palace training ground with Brighton and Hove Albion, boo. And that's the season over for the under-18s, who sit fifth in the Premier League South table. Although they finished their games, there are other clubs still to play that could overtake them. And sadly, we know that our women are relegated from the WSL, but they drew 2-2 on Sunday last with Leicester City. And it's sad that it's other lot from South London that have been promoted to the WSL. Lionesses, if you don't know what I'm talking about. They've been promoted, apparently. We also look at players at this club that have been out on loan. And when you look at someone like Mustafa, who's staffed the under-21s, I've seen a lot of stuff on social media saying, should he go out on loan next season to develop him? We had another clean sheet for Owen Goodman. And AFC Wimbledon, they won 1-0 at Grimsby Town. Wimbledon finished 5th on 73 points. And they play Notts County in the playoffs. Joe Whitworth, another goalkeeper, of course, your friend Yaz, he let in 3 goals. Exeter City lost 3-0 at Mansfield. His season has sort of petered out a bit, but he got their player, I think, supporters player of the year, I read, which was lovely. And Danny Imre's had a fantastic season at Bromley in League Two. He played 62 minutes in a 3-0 win at home against Cheltenham Town, and Bromley finished 11th, very respectably, for our local League Two team. Well done to them, first season in the Football League. Here's a player that I never thought I'd read this out. Rob Holding played the full 90 for Sheffield United in the Championship. He was booked, but he got the assist for Sheffield United's only goal against Blackburn. Of course, they finished 3rd, and they'll play Bristol City in the playoffs. Raksaki didn't feature. I don't know whether he's injured or whether he's just not fancied anymore, but he was scoring goals for fun earlier on in the season. And Yumulo, he was not part of the Port Vale squad. They played against Gillingham with Asha Agbioni, and Port Vale finished 2nd, and Gillingham finished down in 17th. So that's a roundup of our loan players. Well done to those guys. Of course, they will come back to Crystal Palace. Be interesting to see what happens to them. John, you went out on loan a couple of times. What's it like going out as a loan player?
Just the once, Swansea.
Once, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. You know, I was always banging Stevie Cobble's door down. I was like, Gaffer, I need to play. I want to play. And he's like, you need to be patient. And I'm like, I want to go out on loan, and kept asking to go out on loan. And then finally, Ian Evans moved to Swansea. He called me and says, right, okay, you know, Ian Evans wants to take you to Swansea. And I was like, I wasn't planning on going that far. I'm not got a Millwall or Charlton. I mean, Swansea is a real slapper. But you know, it was fantastic. You know, I went down there and stayed with a lovely family in Diggs, and you know, we played. They'd won the Welsh Cup. We played in the Cup Winners' Cup, and you know, just a quick story is just that the night, obviously, that Palace. I'm sorry, we lost 9-0 to Liverpool away. I was playing in Athens against. I played the. We played on a Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning we came down for breakfast, and there was Andy Melvin, Andy Legg, and Chris Coleman, and all the boys sitting there just laughing their nuts off, saying Palace got beat 9-0. I'm saying, shut up, no, enough. And they showed me the Sun newspaper, and I was like, oh my god, you need me back, you know. No, so. And I scored 2 goals in the Olympic Stadium in Athens against Panathinaikos that night. And then, you know, Stevie Coppell bought. I feel sorry for Perry Suckley. He bought Nigel Martin, first £1 million goalkeeper. Richard Shaw was at Hull on loan, and we bought Andy Thorne, I think. And the rest is kind of history. We got our revenge in the semi-final, but. Going back to your original question, it's vital. You need to go and play men's football. You can't. This under-23s football, and you need to go and play proper football and become a man and go and play in competitive football when it matters and the chips are down. All this reserve team under-23s football doesn't do you any good. So, but sometimes you need to go 2 or 3 times to grow and learn and come back. But you got to have that hunger and desire to want to make that first team. And anyone who's out on loan right now has got to be working doubly hard to think. You know, they're going to come back and break into this squad.
Interesting. And is there a lone player out at the moment, any of those that I mentioned, that you think particularly would do well back at Palace?
Do you know, I don't. I think Devaney's a player. I think Issa is a player. I think França is going to be a player, but they need to get in that gym. They need to get half a yard, and they need to get strength, and they need to get some real attitude and some desire to want to break into the team and want that desire to win, and when they get their chance to come on. I think Oliver Glasner, I would say just a little thing is I think he needs to give him more time. I think he needs to keep feeding him in. And I think now, especially we've got nothing to play for in the league, I think he could have given him a little bit more time, give him a little bit more.
Well, that's an interesting comment because there are 3 games to play. We'll come on to predictions at the end of the show because, I suppose there's still an outside chance if we lost the cup final that we could still qualify through the back door into the Conference League. But that's maybe a long debate, more than we've got time for now. One thing that we've been asked to promote this evening, which I'm going to come to now, Lindsay, if you're watching, is the DSA social evening at Selhurst Park. So there you go. So Crystal Palace Disabled Supporters Association social evening. It's on the 11th of May, 6:30 p.m. Everyone is welcome, whether you have a disability or not. And so there's a QR code there. You can grab your information. And I know if you've got any questions about it, you can contact Lindsay on info@cpfcdsa.org, or you can book online, go.cpfcdsa.uk/social. There you go. Good luck with that one, Linz. I hope you have a great evening on that evening. Right. Okay. So we've got 50 minutes of this podcast. We haven't really spoken about the cup final yet. Nick, I'm going to come to you first. One of the great things about the semi-final, of course, was before we even kicked a ball, was the tifo at the end by the HF. Really got so much love for it and so much praise on social media, and it made you proud to be a Palace supporter. Tell us a little bit about what's happened for the final.
Okay, so they've done another collection on GoFundMe, they call it, and it's done really well. I mean, I think it's gone beyond their wildest dreams how much they're actually going to raise for it. The last time I looked, which is just before we went live, it was currently sitting at £43,400. So, Palace fans, you have just done the world of good. We are going to be spotted worldwide by every football supporting nation in the world, and the light will be absolutely shining on Crystal Palace. So let's hope the lads in black actually do the job and make it a full display for the whole world to watch and celebrate. My only worry a little bit, okay, and it's only a minor concern at this stage, because I understand they've put out a statement recently, is the surplus funds. What happens to the surplus funds? There's going to be money left over. Is it going into future TIFOs? Are they actually going to publish a full set of audited figures so everybody can see exactly how the money is spent? I don't care how it's spent, but if there's money left over, give it to the local food banks, give it to a charity, Palace for Life Foundation. I don't mind where it goes, okay, as long as it's audited and everybody can see it. John, you got any views on the surplus funds?
No, I don't. Sorry, but I think I'll just go back to Lindsay's disabled charity. I've been to some of those functions and they're fantastic. So please do support that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, just use it wisely, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I think clearly what you're saying, Nick, and I agree with you here, is that we want transparency. I think the HF, love them or hate them. I mean, they do a great thing overall, don't they? Overall, they're great for Crystal Palace Football Club. It does divide the fan base a little bit, but overall, I think the good outweighs the bad, and it's going to be great at Wembley, the final. But let's have some transparency. Let's have some clear ideas of where surplus funds have gone to, because it's not just the fans. Some of the players have put sums of money in, and that's been publicised. Good luck to them, and well done for raising such a lot of money. And we look forward to seeing what's going to be on display on the 17th of May. Good. Nick, the other thing we've talked about a little bit, we want to sort of touch on here, is the pricing of the tickets for the final. I'll be interested in views on this. I'll come to you in a minute, Nick. But Yaz, let's come to you on this one. Tell us your initial view when you saw the pricing for the final tickets.
Well, I mean, I knew it was going to go up, but I didn't know it was going to go up so much. It was a bit of a shock because we had £90 tickets for the semi-final, which are now £175. obviously, I understand it's a final and it's popular, but I'm really not sure they need to charge that much, especially so soon after we've had the semi-final. It's a lot of money. If you've got a family and you're paying for like 4 people.
Yeah.
But what do you do? I'm not going to miss it, so I'm going to pay it, and they know it.
Indeed. And I think, you can still argue that you can still get to watch the FA Cup final live in person for 50 quid, which, is what you'd pay for an away game in the Championship. And I mentioned Championship because obviously you don't pay that in the Premier League now because of the cap. But, if you were in the away end at Elland Road in the Championship this year, you might pay 40, 50 quid for a ticket. I don't know. So, you can get into Wembley for less. And you're right. They'll sell the tickets. It's supply and demand. I think the other thing is the hike on last season's final prices. I think we've seen like a 20% rise, and that's clearly above the rate of inflation. But it is what it is. And phase 1 has happened today. Yeah, I'm not. Thank you, Nigel. There's a statement there from the FA. It's on the screen. I'm not going to read it out verbatim tonight. Now I was going to, but we've sort of touched on the key points of that. Thanks, Nigel. I think this is something that isn't going to go away. People are going to pay for the tickets. Phase 1 has happened today. If you've got your ticket already, tell us in the chat. If you're eagerly anticipating tomorrow's phase 2, tell us about it as well, and good luck with it. And this is the state of play. I think we said at 6 p.m, taken from social media tonight. So plenty of free seats still to go for phase 2 and phase 3, and indeed phase 4. And phase 4, which happens on Friday, is an extra 2 tickets for anyone that wants them as a season ticket holder, I think. So hopefully we'll sell out. I can imagine that Manchester City might not sell their full allocation because, of course, they didn't sell out for the semi-final. And John, do you think there's some sympathy with Manchester City supporters in as much as it was their 7th consecutive semi-final and it's their 3rd consecutive final? They've been there so many times. Is it a bit much to ask people to pay that money year after year after year?
It is. I mean, it's massive for them, and the fact that they're just serial winners is they're spoiled, and they're not. They haven't got that bigger fan base. I think when you look at someone like Man United, that we're very glad we haven't got Man United. Although maybe we should play them right now. They're not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but yeah, I mean, it's difficult. They've got to come a long way. And when you look at society right now, for a lot of those people, they just haven't got that money to be able to travel, buy the tickets, the programs, to eat, the accommodation, the train and coach travel is massive with everything it entails and includes. So I do really feel for the people coming from Manchester to come all the way down here. And really, it's not great. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to have to make that decision. As you were just saying, it's so difficult for them to come down, and the cost is different from London to Manchester, and that's a amount of money.
Of course, you've got to put the National Stadium somewhere, haven't you? And it happens to be in North London.
Well, it is, and they'll probably get Box Park, so that makes up for it. So,
yeah, maybe.
No, I don't make light of it. I know it. It is. Not. Trains are 2.5 hours, but they're a lot of money, and to go down in the coach, it's a full day, and it's a lot of money. But they're having great times, and they've had unprecedented success in the Premier League under Guardiola, and fair play to him. It's just all that is coming to an end now, and it's Palace's time. So end of. Okay, good. Right, so FA Cup final, we're looking forward to it, of course. Before then, of course, we've got Spurs to play in the Premier League, and that's next Sunday. And Nigel, we've got the fixtures coming up. Your predictions for the Spurs game. I'm going to ask you one by one on the panel in a moment. Let's have your predictions for the Spurs fixture. It's about time we won there, isn't it? This is at 2:15 on Sunday, the 11th of May, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Before we come to the FA Cup final, which does, of course, now kick off at 4:30 p.m. We've learnt that since we were last on air a week ago. Much controversy about the kickoff time itself. And then
our rearranged league game that was going to be played that weekend against Wolverhampton Wanderers is at home, 8 p.m. on Tuesday, the 20th of May, hopefully for the FA Cup to be paraded at Selhurst Park, before we go to Champions Liverpool on the final day on the 25th of May at 4 p.m. So, these are the games that are left. It'd be great to get your predictions for the next 3 leg games. How many points are we going to get in the final 3 games, matches 36 to 38? These were our predictions ahead of 35, the match 35, which has just gone against Forest. We actually only got 3 points in those games, 2 defeats and 3 draws. Nick and Tim, can I say congratulations and well done to you both for getting closest on that prediction. Most of us were hopelessly wrong. You and I, Yaz, were particularly rubbish on this one, but there we are. Right, so how are we going to get on at Tottenham? Ladies first, Yasmin.
So I really, really hope we can win this time. I'm going for 2-1. I just think surely this has got to be our year to win there, because we're never going to get a better opportunity. So fingers crossed.
I think you're right. We probably won't get a better opportunity. Tim?
Oh, Ian, how you mocked me when I said 5 points and I was right. I'm going for a 2-0 win on Sunday.
2-0 win. Well, I did say well done about the 5 points, but you didn't actually get it right. So you were still wrong, and I was wrong, and you were wrong. You were just closest, but there we are. So 2-0 you're saying to Palace at Tottenham. Nick, what about your view?
I still don't think we'll win at the Tottenham Stadium. I think Glasgow will wrap him in cotton wool ahead of the final the following week. He will play them. He'll play a full team, a full strength squad, and he'll use the bench massively. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Interesting. So you think there'll be changes, a bit like the Arsenal fixture?
Later in the game, he'll start a full strength.
Okay. Interesting. So you'll go for a draw. John, what about you?
Listen, we've been absolutely magnificent away from home this season, and we've won 6 games, only 5 at home. And it's just we're in a different place now. But I just don't want to say that, obviously we beat Brighton home and away, and the 3-1 at Brighton was our best away result. So maybe we'll get a little bit of that spirit. But I really, honestly don't care what we do there. I want wrap the lads in cotton wool. 1-1. We'll get a draw. We'll march on. The draw at Arsenal was just magnificent, by the way, with the DSA and the Mateta goal. But
Agreed.
As we just get through that game with no injuries and march on to the cup final.
So Nick and John are saying, put us down for another score draw. We're the Paul's coupon favourite at the moment, aren't we? All these draws we keep getting in the Premier League every week. We get a draw. Stick us down on your coupon for a draw. You can tell how old I am by saying that, but there we are. All good. So we look forward to going over to Tottenham at the weekend before the cup final. If you haven't yet got your cup final ticket, good luck with that tomorrow. Many people have. Our hour is up. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your comment and as many as we would have liked to have done in the chat this evening. We really thank you for joining us. We will return, of course, on Monday, the 12th of May after the Tottenham game. When Nick, are you back hosting for that one?
I am. I'll be back in the chair on next Monday.
Good. I think I'm on the show as well, but Nick's back hosting. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Yasmin. But thank you especially to John Salako. John, are you going to come back and join us again sometime?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
We'll hold you to that, mate. We'll get you on next season for sure. So lovely. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of the evening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.